Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to talk more about pie cuts. So last episode we went over how to cut the right angle you need, right? What is the angle per side on these cuts? Today we're going to cover how big do you make your pie cut. So if you're going to snake these down around to an area, maybe that overall width here doesn't mean anything. But if you're trying to get from one area to another and you've only got so much room, so let me show you how to figure out what this thickness here needs to be. All right, to figure out what that thickness, it really is just a simple layout project. You need a protractor, ruler, pencil or pen, it's entirely up to you. So basically what I'll do is, I'm assuming it's 90. You're gonna have to figure out roughly what your angle is. You know, get yourself a big protractor in there, figure out what your angle is. But the steps don't change. So basically what you do is you come through here, and I'm gonna take it as a 15-degree pie cut. Remember the last video, it's 15 degrees here, so 7.5 degrees per side. I'm going to start out here by just laying out my lines. So we got one at 15. And which order you do this in, it's really up to you. So that's just going to be the angle of each pie. So you're going to have to get a scale or something in there and rough measure what your center distance is from one item to the next. You gotta have some kind of idea, and then you'll fit it from there. Now, if it's 5 or 6 inches, well, just go buy a piece of tube with the right bend radius, because that's not the point of a pie cut. Pie cut is you don't have much room. You've got an inch or two to make this turn in, and traditional manual bent tubing won't work. So let's just say you have 3 inches, and that's your center. And you also have 2-inch tubing. So there's that one. I'm just gonna lay out these angle lines. The dog always decides to bark just as we start a video. Well, we're not in a movie set, we're in a shop, so it's part of it. So there's our angles. Right, and we said we've got a 3-inch center, so now on each one of these angles, we're going to go through here and 3 inches on center, and you have 2-inch tube. This is like most things when you're welding. You get more time doing either the prep or the layout or the grinding than you do the actual welding. All right, so we've already done the hard part right there. So from here, you just go in and you just connect the dots. But you need to know how big to make the pieces, otherwise they'll never go in. So you can just come in and measure your slice, and it says here that we're 1 inch and 1/16 here. You'd cut all your pieces 1 inch and 1/16. Okay. And that's for a 3-inch center. And as for, if you're going for 2 inches of, okay, so that's 3 inches on center, and you have 2-inch tube, right? So the 2-inch tube might be more doable as far as your center line goes. You can make this much tighter. I've already laid a couple of these out so we don't lose everybody drawing all this out. So let's say you got 3 inches on center, and now you're going to go up to 3-inch tube, right? So that's much tighter. You can see that's 1 1/8 inches as well. And that gets us down to truly what pie cuts are for. So on this, we've got a 2-inch center, And then we have a piece of 3-inch tube. This is where pie cuts are used more, because you're not going to be able to get a manual bend that tight. So you would go through, you would lay out your center, 1.5 inches on both sides, 1.5 inches, makes 3 inches. Just connect the dots, whatever your angle is, and then just come through here and measure it. This tells me that I need a 7/8 on this back piece. We showed you on the last video how to cut them. Right, so 7/8 each piece, and then cut as many as you need. And you can change this if this ends up being 1.5 inches. The sky's the limit. That's the joy of pie cuts. Now on our next installment, if you're going to cut these, how do we get them cut so that and stacked so that we've got a really good 90? And once again, if we're just going to cut and we're just trying to make our way to something, just come up with the width that you think will work, and you're going to twist these around to get them to where you want them to be. If you're trying to make a 15-degree pie cut, well, these are 15 degrees here. Remember, that's not the angle you cut. Your cut is going to be 7.5 per side. Whatever this angle is, divide it by 2, and that's your cut on both sides. All right, so that's just basically laying out what your pie cut needs to look like. So you can always get something like these bigger protractors if you want. So let's say you have, you're trying to build a header or a cold air intake. You can lay this in there and you can figure out what your angle needs to be, because quite frankly, it's never going to be 90. You know, you're not going to get that lucky, sorry. So you put this in there, get your angle, lay it out on a piece of paper. Otherwise, if you're just trying to guess, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. You're going to cut a lot of tube and do a lot of sanding. You like cutting and sanding? Well, don't get no paper. But find your angle and then lay it out on a piece of paper. A little protractor like this and a clear scale, $4 or $5. The amount of tube you'll save, it'll be well worth it. Right? Lay your angle out on the tube. Figure out if you're gonna cut the pie cut yourself. Figure out what your angle needs to be. Right? So just draw this out. Figure out what this radius is. Lay it out, and then connect the dots. That way you can figure out what this width needs to be. What does this stick point need to be for your saw? And it's very simple to do. It takes a little bit of layout work, and I hate to say this, basic geometry work. So if you have any questions about cutting them, see the first video in the series. Next week's video, we'll actually lay it out, we'll cut them, we'll mark the tube so that as we stack them, I'll show you how to get them in the right order to get a perfect 90. And if you need a refresher on how to cut, I'll see you in this other video. If you want some help on welding or something, I'll leave a link here in this video as well. All right, so that's been another edition of the 4x4 Fab Shop. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share. More importantly, help us grow by subscribing. I'll see you in the next video.